Hi everyone, today I'm talking about Fedex stock, and I feel like talking about this stock because it had its worst day this week since 2008, since the great crash. And I thought it'd be an interesting stock to talk about because it's a stock that I actually track quite a fair bit. It's one of the stocks I can track every day, kind of like on my watch list on my stock market tracker app that I do use. And I thought it'd be a good video to talk about it after the such a bad day. It's been a bad week really for Fedex overall. It's been a bad year for Fedex overall. It's just generally not had a good time at all. So I thought I'd talk about it, and it's a stock that I touched on. I think it was about 6 to 8 months ago, and before recording this video, I actually went and checked that video out just to see what I said and if my opinion's changed at all. And you know what? My opinion has changed slightly since that video. Not hugely, but a little bit. And I'll touch on that a little bit as well. And one of the really funny things is I looked at my setup back then to here, and even though my setup isn't amazing, it's still a lot better now. And I kind of like my setup right now. And I mean, obviously I'd like the lighting to be a little bit better, the sound to be a little bit better, the video to be a little bit better, but it has improved slightly a little bit. But yeah, that's kind of really funny, but I'm going off topic now, so we'll go back to Fedex. So Fedex stock overall, what I've done is I've kind of put some pros and some negatives of the stock, and I'll talk about some pros and negatives, and then I'll give my opinion overall about the stock and if I'm going to buy the stock overall. Now, just to backtrack a bit, on the previous video, I did say when the last time I made a video about Fedex is when it was at $150, and we look at the stock now, and it's back around about the $150 mark after the pullback this week, which is funny because it's at the same price from a few months ago. So if you buy then, you would be up a bit, and now you'd be neutral on your stock position. And the stock chart itself, obviously, if we see that it's had a nice push, and sometimes when we look at the stock and especially the 2008 pullback, that was a really heavy pullback in the stock, and it has had at some points quite a few pullbacks in the stock, and it can take the stock quite a few years to recover from them sort of losses. And if you look at the stock, if you buy at highs of this stock and it does go down on them dips, you are down for quite a while in Fedex stock, and it normally doesn't really go down more than 60% historically. And I like looking at a stock and seeing historically what happens in this situation. And Fedex kind of doesn't go down more than 60% from its all-time highs. Now, right now we're sitting about 40%, which kind of suggests to me that there is 20% more downside historically for it to go. But at the same time, 40%, sometimes that's its bottom. The 40 to 60% range is when it does start to recover. So we are kind of entering the recovery phase for Fedex. And obviously, I don't know how much more bad news can come out, because the reason why it was down in this position anyway was of it cutting its guidance again. And this time, it kind of didn't cut its guidance slightly, like what it's previously done. This time, we went for a very heavy guidance cut, and that's why our stock is down absolutely huge. And we'll get onto some reasons why the guidance was cut so much. So we'll start with the negatives, because we're kind of on a negative tone right now. First of all, profit margins. The profit margins are going down. They've been going down quite a bit, and they are one of the lowest points right now that it has ever been at. Now, when we compare it to its competitors, that I like to do, and I could talk about Fedex for a long time, but I want to try to keep the video quite brief. And when we compare Fedex to UPS, is the company I always like to compare it to. And the profit margins to UPS has kind of stayed level historically, whereas Fedex has always struggled to keep maintaining them profit margins, which is really affecting the company right now. Second point, China trade war. Obviously, a company that relies on a lot of good trading between companies. The China trade war has obviously been at its peak, affected Fedex, affected trading. Obviously, now we look at Fedex and this China trade war. Obviously, if a deal comes out on that China trade war ends, that's one of the biggest negatives of this stock right now, is that China trade war, and that's what's bringing it down. Obviously, if that's solved, that's one of the big negatives gone out of the stock. Amazon doing delivery, obviously that's affected quite a bit, and since June, Amazon and Fedex have totally parted ways. Obviously, that's going to take about a year for Fedex to kind of recover. Now, even though we say about Amazon, it actually didn't make that massive amount of Fedex's revenue, but at the same time, it is losing a big customer, and it will take a while to recover from that. And I think will be like a year adjustment from that. And that's with all these factors that were going on, that Amazon delivery side of it is just another kind of chip away at FedEx and why the stock is down so much. The TNT merger, and the Europe weakness kind of linked together. So in 2016, I think it was 2016, FedEx bought TNT, which is kind of like a major company for the delivery side in Europe. But now they bought it pretty much the worst time they could, because Europe has been weakening since 2016, and all the economies are kind of getting weaker. Brexit, for example, as well. So many countries have been getting weaker. And that's kind of affected TNT because now that FedEx own them, so that's kind of not paid off how they thought it would. You know, it was like generally the worst time to buy them. And also the merge of TNT and FedEx hasn't been great, and I've heard a lot of horror stories about them. You know, TNT and FedEx both delivering parcels on the same day to places rather than just having one company delivering all the parcels for that place. Obviously, that then puts a lot of the costs up. You're paying two people's wages, two vans to go at the same time. Also a little bit of a nightmare. And obviously all these kind of things is why we're seeing the EPS now drop down. The revenue's still going up nicely, but the EPS is dropping because of a lot of these things right here. Now let's go to some of the pros of the stock. So obviously it's always good to buy stocks on discounts. 52-week lows, and it's entering kind of the range where it should bounce probably at some time soon, but it still has the potential to go down. So it is at 52-week lows. A great brand. Let's not forget FedEx is a massive brand in the delivery service, one of the biggest, and obviously you get TNT with that, so it's a great brand overall, and it's in a lot of sectors. It has a lot of delivery services offering. The e-commerce growth. Now this could be massive. A lot of companies are going online, a lot of retail companies are going online. The e-commerce growth is something that UPS have really struggled to capitalize on and not had the infrastructure in place. FedEx has done slightly better. But at the same time, there's a lot more problems than that just with FedEx. But at the same time, the e-commerce is a great growth platform for FedEx to capitalize on if it can do it right. Now, obviously, 2019, we've had all these things come into place, and a few of these they've all kind of come at once, and some of these problems are now like at the peak, and I see a lot of them kind of fading out. Like the Amazon side of it, that's only going to recover from now. The TNT, you would hope the merger kind of recovers from now. China trade war, with Trump coming up to election, can he kind of put a trade deal in place? Obviously, we always think there's a deal coming and then it goes again, but I think that, it can't get any worse than what it is right now, for example. So a lot of these problems, 2019, they're at the peak, but I kind of see them not peaking any more than this. China trade war deal, that would be massive. The TNT, seems like if Europe can recover from now, and the merger comes a lot better than what it has done, that will obviously help their earnings as well. And one of the big things is going to 7 days a week, and obviously this is the pressure from Amazon. That's the reason why they're going 7 days a week now, and obviously that should help them compete against Amazon, and they've kind of copied them, and that's hopefully something that will help grow the company and grow the EPS and grow the revenue. Now, like I said, guys, there's quite a lot of information that I wanted to talk about FedEx overall, because I could talk about the stock for a while, and it could generally have been like a half an hour video, and I'm just trying to cram it all in and keep everyone's attention and try and give as much details as I can. But as you can see, really from here, there's a lot of pros with FedEx. At the same time, there's a lot of negatives, and this is why the stock's down. And it's kind of comes to the point here where you've got to say how much do the positives start outweighing the negatives with the price. And for me, I'll be honest, I look at FedEx, and it's a stock that I track because it's a company that I like tracking and see what's going on along with UPS. And I kind of have big respect for both stocks. And I feel like if one of them comes at a big massive discount, I would always go and buy them at some point. But the thing is as well, you've got to weigh it up with what else is going on in the stock market and how long are these problems going to go for. Now, to be honest with you, I look at quite a few of these problems, and especially the China trade war and the Europe side of it with TNT, I have no idea when that's going to end. That's one of the big problems. But at some point, there is a buy for me. But with other stocks on sale, Altria, Facebook, when do you kind of discount them and do go to buy FedEx? I'm not really sure, and I think that's always a problem why I have never bought FedEx, because I see bigger upside in other companies than FedEx with a lot more risk than what FedEx is offering. But at some point, some people are going to get interested in the stock, and like I say, I do see the stock going, the stock has the potential to go down to $130. At the same time, the stock in the next 2 to 3 years, because we're looking at long-term investing, I think has the potential to be a $200 stock again. So there is a risk and reward for me, but I think the reason why I never personally invest in it is because I see bigger opportunities out there. At the same time, if them opportunities start going and FedEx is still an opportunity, then that I may go buy it. But for me at the moment, I personally won't buy FedEx because I see other opportunities. But it is quite an interesting discount right now, and I think a few people might pick up this discount, and I won't blame you. But for me, I'm just kind of going to hold off at the moment. But I thought I'd talk about it because it's a stock that I love watching and see what's going on. And I have a bit of knowledge in FedEx because it's a few stocks that I've considered buying a few times, but not bought really. So that's me talking about FedEx after such a bad week for it, guys. I hope it helped you if you were considering FedEx overall. If you could give the video a like, that would be amazing. Subscribe if it's your first time watching. It's been fantastic, the amount of support recently on the channel. So thank you so much for that. I'll see you in the next video.